Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Pros. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am every Monday by Tera Roberts. Tera, we are talking 5 moves to make before week 4 now. We are 3 weeks into the season. My team has not played yet this week. You have not had the greatest weekend for your team, so we're hoping maybe I get a little better luck tonight here on Monday Night Football. But before that happens, we are already looking ahead to next week and some moves to make now. Sometimes we have, buys and sells are obviously always included. We've sometimes got some drops here. This is more of a trade-focused episode here. We've got 5 just buys and sells are kind of where we're focusing on this one. And there are some big names in this one. There are 3 very big name receivers. So I hope everybody is excited to tune into this one. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our weekly consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Tera, let's start off with name number 1.
Yeah, we're going big or go home here. We're gonna buy. We're gonna buy on Drake London. I know that might be panic inducing to even think about it. Michael Penix did get off to a promising start in week 1. Nearly 300 yards, got the passing touchdown, 1 on the ground. London didn't have a ton of volume in terms of yardage, but he did have 15 targets. So we looked at that game and we said, okay, all right, good. Going to be amazing. We're getting hyper targeted. This is going to be a high volume pass offense. And then it went from promising to disturbingly bad. Penix has not thrown another touchdown. London is suffering. It's not him at all. It's just this offense is not going, and Penix looks a wee bit confused out there. Now, to be fair, these have been bad matchups. We had a matchup with Minnesota and this matchup with Carolina. It was a bad look, but we have to remember that Carolina's secondary is 100% serious. So we can do a little bit of understanding about why it has turned in such a negative direction here for Drake London at the hands of Michael Penix Jr. But we are buying him here because Penix absolutely has more development that he needs to make. And we cannot ignore, again, the promise that he showed last season here. We just need better matchups here for them to go into. When we look at Drake London in terms of long term, I'm not concerned that there's any major issue. This is going to be a high volume offense still, probably playing from behind, but passing, going to have that yardage there. These were bad matchups. London's talent is for real, and the perception of how bad this situation is makes London really an excellent buy low candidate.
I want to save my follow-up for London and kind of loop him in with the next name because it's another big name wide receiver. And I want to kind of maybe compare the two together in terms of what you'd like to, be interested in giving up for either of these names. So let's go to your second buy here, and then I'll loop the two of them together.
For my second buy here, again, I'm harping on the Minnesota defense here. It's just cause it's wreaking havoc there on a lot of these quarterbacks that don't maybe have the level of experience that you have from veteran quarterbacks. Like a Matt Stafford might be able to take this on and be okay. But when we're looking at Jake Browning and trying to figure out if he can pick apart this Minnesota defense, I didn't expect it to be this bad, but I didn't really expect it to be amazing here. We are in panic territory. We were in panic territory with the Bengals as soon as Joe Burrow went down, and now we have essentially reached rock bottom pricing on all of them that quick. That is reality of how bad that game was. But again, it's easy to forget that Browning played the majority of last week's game, and Jamar Chase had a wonderful over 150 yards and a touchdown against Jacksonville again. So it's a matchup thing. There are better days to come when we get to some better matchups here. And again, the reality is that this is going to be by a matchup dependent situation, and it's a good buy low situation. It's buy low specifically on Chase Brown. I didn't put buy low on the entire on Jamar Chase. I didn't put buy low on the entire Bengals offense. That was like a Freudian slip there because I am terrified for Chase Brown there, and we are not buying low on him, unfortunately. He's like a panic sell if you can get out while you still can. But when it comes to Jamar Chase, he is the wide receiver 1. We've got bottom pricing here. We have promise of better yardage games coming up here. So it's not the worst situation in the world. You can get Jamar Chase at literally pennies here.
So when you look at London and Chase together, what sorts of packages are you looking to put together for these guys? Are you looking to say, I'm willing to trade another big name receiver and try an almost a challenge trade 1-for-1? Are you saying I'm willing to trade a high-end running back or like a high-end RB2 maybe if you're trying to kind of buy at a discount? Are you looking to pair some depth for these guys? What sort of, because they're both, currently ranked rest of season as top 10 receivers, but obviously that's a lot of preseason stuff baked into those rest of season rankings. Jamar Chase is currently wide receiver 2 in our rest of season rankings. That was just updated after yesterday, behind only Puka Nacua. CeeDee Lamb was ahead of him. Obviously he's got his own injury stuff now. And then Drake London, who was kind of in that back half of the first round, early second range, he's wide receiver 9. So still there, but like obviously the managers who have these two names are not feeling good right now. So for either of them, and also I want to ask if you see a gap between the two of them or if you would rank them close to each other, what sort of package are you looking to give up to acquire these guys?
So I think RB2s are really the sweet spot right here because for what I'm seeing in terms of trade questions that people are bringing, a lot of people are seeking to buy those kind of mid-tier producing RB2s that are actually legitimate RB1s on their team because we've got a lot of guys that drafted these RJ Harveys, and you're panicking here, even like a Caleb Johnson, you're panicking here because you were depending on these guys to be your RB2, and they're just not producing any kind of numbers that you can actually put into your fantasy lineup here. So there's a little sweet spot here, I think, for people that invested in those later dead zone running backs. Your Devontae Williams, your DeAndre Swifts, you've got Cam Scatterbo that is going to have increasing value selling here. So maybe you package up one of those RB2s that are ascending in these high volume roles, or at least these clear appear to be lead back roles, package it up with another wide receiver to kind of compensate there maybe. And I think you can easily get one of these guys because there's a lot of panic going on right here around these wide receivers.
One more question on these two that I want to ask. This guy that already had, his big game here in week 3. Would you rather have Drake London or Nico Collins rest of season?
I would rather have Drake London. Again, Atlanta's offense has looked bad, but man, so has Houston's. And the problem is that Houston's problem is more about their offensive line, and that is not going to be changing anytime soon. So Penix developing and getting comfortable as the full-time starter. This you just have to supply this volume to your receivers. That can come around here, but the Texans have an issue that is not going away, as is, shown by their record, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you want a chance to win the ultimate symbol of fantasy glory, the Fantasy Football Championship belt, courtesy of our friends at Trophy Smack, the #1 destination for epic fantasy football hardware, then this is your moment. This massive gold-plated belt is built to make a statement. It's bold, it's heavy, and it's guaranteed to turn heads in your league. Don't just win your championship, wear it. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Drop a comment below on any of our videos. That is it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss your chance to claim this championship belt and flex on your entire league. We've got another big name receiver coming up here, Tara. What are you doing with A.J. Brown?
This one is positive. I should have started off the positive. Why'd I hit us with Drake London and Jamar Chase first? I should have started off with AJ Brown since we finally got this big AJ Brown game out of him. 6 receptions on 10 targets, over 100 yards and a touchdown. The Eagles realized that, hey, we have elite wide receivers, and I don't know, they can actually catch the ball. So maybe if we throw them passes, the offense will still succeed from a pass perspective. And they had to do it. They were forced into it. The Rams literally sat there and focused on shutting down Saquon Barkley. And once the Eagles came to terms with the fact that they had to increase that pass volume there in the second half in order, really the fourth quarter, to sit there and actually win the game, they actually committed to it. This is why it's the opportunity to sell, because we know that AJ Brown is an incredibly talented receiver. And if you get targets to him, if you supply him with volume, he will thrive. That's not the question there. And Jalen Hurts is not really the question here too. He can throw. It's not really an issue. I think it's kind of funny. We like to laugh about it here with the low yardage pass volume that he has. But we've got plenty of proof that the connection between him and AJ Brown is an elite combination. But unfortunately, we've got a clear game plan here from the Eagles that they want to be run heavy. That is what worked and what carried them to a Super Bowl here. So why change the game plan? There's not a coincidence there that we saw that massive uptick in volume for Devontae Smith. It was just a game where the pass volume increased. We can't count on that on a week-to-week basis here. Now, it was a good reminder that AJ Brown does have that ceiling. So if you want to stick around on him, I don't blame you on that one at all. But if you want to take this as an opportunity to bail out and not have to deal with the week to week volatility, it will be predictable because you can look and try and figure out those games where they're going to be forced to pass the ball a little bit. But even in those situations, like against Kansas City, we thought there would be more pass. That didn't happen. It'll be a little bit of volatility there, inconsistent and maybe tough to predict. So if you want to get out, now is the perfect time to try and sell high on him.
Drake London is wide receiver 9 rest of the season. AJ Brown is wide receiver 10 rest of the season. Would you trade Brown for London?
Oh man. I think I would. It's extremely close between the two. But again, the problem there is that we know that there is locked in volatility there for AJ Brown for the remainder of the season, and the fact that that's not going to change.
Yeah. Give me another name that you're selling here before week 4.
I'm selling Jacory Croskey-Merritt here. He got the goal line touchdown here. You can take that and try and shill it around and say, "Hey, I got your future lead back," and he's going to develop into the role. Because there are a lot of, there are a lot of Bill truthers out there in thinking that he is just going to ascend to the RB1 role, and it makes sense, right? Because we've never thought of Chris Rodriguez or Jeremy McNichols as competition for anyone in any way, shape, or form here. But I think we underestimate the willingness of Washington to force this to be a committee. It's not a committee, and it hasn't been a committee because of the fact that they just didn't have the personnel to have a lead back. It is because they just wanted it to be a committee by design here. That's why it was Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. We've just got a change in personnel here. When we look at the snaps, that is what really tells the story here. The highest snap count that we had for a running back in this backfield was Jacory Croskey-Merritt with 23. That's not good. Chris Rodriguez was at 22. And then we had Jeremy McNichols at 15. The one with the most carries was actually Chris Rodriguez. He was just the least productive from a fantasy perspective because he did not get the touchdown between the three. Again, despite all these carries tilting there, ultimately, I do think that JCM is the guy that you want to think is going to have the most fantasy relevance on a weekly basis here, the only one that you can cross your fingers and try to trust here. But to rely on the touchdown every single week when volume is going to be not as high as we need it to be, I don't think you want to be a part of that. This is a situation where you can trade and try and upgrade at another position.
A couple of interesting names that Bill is ranked between in the consensus rest of season rankings. One spot ahead of him is RJ Harvey. One spot behind him is Isaiah Pacheco. Would you rather have Croskey-Merritt or either of those two names? Thinking long-term, right? Because obviously Harvey hasn't done anything yet, but, trying to think, the long-term upside there. Pacheco, we've seen what he can be in the past. Would you rather Croskey-Merritt or either of those two?
Harvey, I think I would, just because I don't feel comfortable with Croskey-Merritt in my starting lineup right now. That's the same concept with Harvey. Harvey does have a clear backup role there too, J.K. Dobbins, but Dobbins does have an extreme injury history. So the reality of Harvey owning that backfield is a lot higher than the reality of Washington decommitting from this committee. Kansas City with Isaiah Pacheco, that's another story there. I don't know if I want to buy into that piece.
We've got a special offer for everyone. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today. Use promo code FP1month. That's the number 1, not spelled out. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out. Try it free for 1 month now. Available on iOS and Android. We've got one more player here. Tera, who do you have for us?
I got one more buy. We did, we're doing buy highs and sell lows, but why not like a buy mid there? Let's do a buy mid on Michael Pittman. You don't always have to buy high here, because the perception on Michael Pittman just over the years has been kind of low, so it's kind of baked in there. Daniel Jones. A quiet, nice, solid day again. Looks like a changed man. This is a competent Indianapolis team as a whole. The surrounding cast is awesome. So why not invest into his top target there, who is absolutely thriving with the exception of that one matchup in Denver. When we're looking at people to invest in this offense for Indianapolis, it's difficult to buy into Jonathan Taylor because the pricing is so astronomical. Tyler Warren has a lot of hype. You can't buy into it. But if you want to get into this offense because it's trending in a extremely high way, Michael Pittman is a very cheap way to get in there and get you a wide receiver one that you don't have to pay nearly remotely the pricing for that. You've got that baked in discount because the fantasy manager that drafted Pittman didn't do it because they're a truther. They exist out there. I might low-key be one though, but they exist. There's just the fact that he's just not really had that massive upside in the past. So the perception on him, again, it's already been low. People don't see him as a true wide receiver one, but the stats thus far in this short little sample size show that he is the wide receiver one of that offense. And if Daniel Jones continues down this path and we're looking at this extremely high upside, we could legitimately get our Michael Pittman elusive wide receiver one season here.
If I force you to put a number to it, scale of 1 to 10, the Colts offense as a whole, which is largely on the shoulders of Daniel Jones. So this can be a Daniel Jones answer, or it can be an offense as a whole answer. But, Colts offense / Daniel Jones, scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level rest of season in terms of how they will maintain what they've done so far?
It's a 7.5, and it's, not the massive confidence in Daniel Jones. I think that Shane Steichen found his groove here, has the personnel that has finally molded into exactly what he wants it to be, and everything is just pulling together very well. So it's feeling high, and Daniel Jones, love him, but it's more about the coaching finally ascending, because we know what this was back in Philadelphia. It's taken a while to get here, but I think that Steichen has finally been able to mold this into a successful offense.
She's Tera Roberts. I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in this week. Make these moves before week 4. We'll see you again next time.